Sacred Heart University in Fairfield, Connecticut, this is The Pulse.
Hello and welcome to The Pulse. I'm Marika Hawaringa.
And I'm Andrew Kane. We have a great show for you today. On April 1st, Connecticut reached the final phase of its COVID-19 vaccine distribution plan, opening up eligibility for the vaccine to all residents over the age of 16. According to Tracking Bar World data, as of April 7th, about 24% of Connecticut residents are now fully vaccinated. For the latest updates on COVID-19 and the vaccination rollout in Connecticut, please visit the state's official website at portal.ct.gov.
After a year like no other, Sacred Heart has recently announced their plans to host ground graduations for the class of 2021 and class of 2020. Here's Kristen Burnell with the story.
Commencement will happen as soon as we're able to do it with government approval.
Since the start of the pandemic in March 2020, major university events, games, and ceremonies have been canceled or postponed due to coronavirus. Over a year after the statewide shutdown, things are starting to look up for students across campus, with graduation going on as scheduled this May.
The goal this year was to get to an on-ground commencement and for people to be able to celebrate it with their parents. Then we looked at the guidelines and what we're able to do.
Graduation has been held at Webster Bank Arena in recent years. However, due to COVID-19 restrictions, this would not be possible this year. The commencement committee had to look to other possibilities, ultimately deciding upon campus field.
We looked at the field where we used to have commencement, which is being an outdoor space, and how many people we could fit in that space. And so that really determined kind of the venue and the place, how we could structure commencement.
Along with the change in location, the university had to figure out specific logistics to make it COVID-friendly, as well as host commencement for not one, but two graduating classes.
We then looked at all the graduates, how many graduates from each college, times the parents that would be there. And we had to split it into 4, because we're doing the class of 2020 before the commencements for the class of 2021. They haven't had theirs, and we've been working with them closely for over a year.
The class of 2020 ceremony is scheduled for Saturday, May 15th, a week before the class of 2021. Members of student government have continued to plan the major event throughout the course of the pandemic.
Before COVID, we still had our weekly meetings for student government with our advisor. When COVID hit, everything was different, and we still met with Patillo, I would say about 3 or 4 times on Zoom, and all of his advisors, and we tried the best we could.
The commencement committee and its subcommittees continue to work hard to plan the details that go into holding this year's unique graduation. But their main focus is to celebrate the accomplishments of students.
Given who we are as Sacred Heart University, we want to make sure, even this year, with all the restrictions and constraints, we want to make sure this is a memorable experience, but it's also a shared experience because of the shared sacrifice that the students have with their families to get to where they are.
Although the ceremony will be broken into separate days and will not have the customary senior week that many senior classes look forward to every year, the university is determined to honor graduates as normal as possible.
We wanted the ceremony to be as close to the original traditional ceremony as we can get it. And so every element we've really looked at and said, well, how can we do that in COVID times?
I'm glad they're able to at least have it on the football field. I mentioned they should, because it's outside, we can social distance, and it's so much better. But I'm glad we were able to get something going. Even if it's just one graduation and not anything else, I'm glad it's still happening.
The class of 2021 graduation ceremonies will be split up into numerous formalities, beginning on Wednesday, May 19th, then continuing on Thursday, May 20th. The ceremonies will complete on Saturday, May 22nd, with the class of 2021 graduate programs. Reporting for The Pulse, Kristen Burnell, Fairfield, Connecticut.
It's so nice to see some positive things coming up, Andrew.
It really is, Mari, and I'm sure all of this year's graduates are eagerly looking forward to May. Video game streaming has become a popular mode of content creation during the pandemic. Let us introduce you to one former Sacred Heart student who has decided to join in on this up-and-coming trend. Daniel Wood reports.
Due to lockdowns and quarantines over the past year, as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, people needed to find new activities to keep themselves busy, sane, and entertained. One of those activities was video game streaming. Edwin Rosado took advantage of his newfound free time and decided to revive his Twitch channel.
So yeah, I used to stream a lot before COVID, but I felt like COVID was a great opportunity to come back into streaming. It allowed me this little escape to be able to, connect with some of my old friends that I haven't talked to in a while, to play video games with everyone and kind of share the content that I was making. It was really actually fortunate in a really unfortunate situation.
Edwin's channel, Poochie Dumpling, has 445 followers. His channel was started as a way to connect with others through video games.
I wanted to be able to meet new people, and I figured that the best way to do that would be through streaming on Twitch.
He has even inspired his family to get involved.
I feel like I've inspired my brother to start streaming himself. He has his own channel, which is growing on its own and doing his own thing. And to me, that makes me really happy to see that I'm inspiring others to, get in front of a camera and start streaming themselves.
Edwin's brother was not the only one to start video game streaming during COVID. The number of streamers on Twitch, according to Twitch Tracker, doubled from January 2020 to January 2021. Even with the large increase in channels, Edwin does not think it will affect his views.
I'm not sure that it would. I think that once you have your, community, people tend to stick to their clique. But it is possible for people to, jump ship and see other streamers.
Going forward, Edwin plans to continue streaming and has even made merchandise for his channel, but he does not plan on it being full-time.
I see myself continuing to stream. I don't think it'll be full-time, but I think it as a fun hobby to do here and there, to continue making content just for the fun of it. If it does become a full-time job in the future, thank God.
Video game streaming's popularity has been increasing more and more as even NBA players joined in while being quarantined during last year's playoffs. As the world slowly begins to open, video game streaming is still experiencing some of its highest numbers of viewership. This has been Daniel Wood for The Pulse.
Social media is one of the most significant developments in modern technology, and whether it's used for entertainment, education, or socializing, it is certain that social media has become a necessity in our modern world. But is it a double-edged sword? Ranim Al-Jabri reports.
Constantly checking and scrolling through social media has become an increasingly popular activity over the last decade. Although most people's use of social media is non-problematic, there are many users who become addicted to it. Social media comes in many forms, such as Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, YouTube, and Instagram. Social media platforms are designed to snare attention, keeping the user online repeatedly checking the screen for updates. Addicted users feel overly become driven by uncontrollable urge to log into social media. Studies published in 2020 by the British newspaper Daily Mail report that Facebook is the most addictive social media according to the number of active users. Addiction to Facebook is positively associated with depression and anxiety, negatively affecting well-being and life satisfaction.
Facebook manipulates people, and part of the way they manipulate people adds to the stress of our life and the depression of our life. This is something that needs further careful study, but enough study has been done to say that that's part of the way Facebook is structured, that kind of psychological and emotional manipulation. Now, if we had more than 2 or 3 minutes, we could go into some of the reasons why they do it. And there's a simple end to that, end of that story, which is it serves their profit and their interest. It keeps people addicted. And by being addicted to Facebook, by spending our attention on social media, Facebook in particular, that's how they operate. That's how they get their profit. That's how they get their power.
Round-the-clock hyperconnectivity on social media platforms results in significant impairment to an individual's ability to function in life over a prolonged period.
I think social media has disrupted our face-to-face life, our ability to handle face-to-face contact, our willingness to enter into face-to-face contact. And I think some of the consequences of that are very worrisome.
Unfortunately, addiction to social media is a common phenomenon around the world that can lead to the emergence of dangerous repercussions on individuals' physical and mental health. It also has a negative impact on social relations in society. Moderation in use is the best policy to be followed.
You don't have to have 1,000 followers, 500 followers. You can have 3 followers, and if you say something that a lot of people will connect to, they will follow you, be inspired by you. You don't need to have a big group of followers for you to be influential.
During finals and during bar studying and all that, it was really hard to focus when people are constantly sending you messages and sending you pictures, and you constantly look at your phone, you're like, I want to answer this, but you have so much work to do. So it makes it really difficult sometimes.
It does cause a lot of anxiety, but you feel like you need to look at it all the time to just make sure you're not missing anything. But yeah, I do experience a lot of anxiety when I'm on it too much. So I'm trying to break that addiction, but I am addicted.
The dark side of social media is still unnaturally lowers individual productivity in our daily life. Reporting for The Pulse, Raneem Al-Jabri, New York City.
Great story, Raneem. Coming up after the break, a look into how one town in Connecticut is gearing up for Pride Month. And later, a great spot to check out this spring.
After all your hard work, the studying, practices, and rehearsals, you deserve the best for what's next, the best in Connecticut higher education. Outstanding nursing and health professions programs, premier learning facilities and world-class tech labs, a nationally ranked business school, modern residential, social, and recreational facilities, championship D1 athletics, and pro-level performing arts. Make your next step the best step. Apply now to Sacred Heart University.
April showers may come your way, but as the weather warms up, the Middletown Pride organization is getting ready for their upcoming parade in June with a colorful fundraiser. I have the story.
The City of Middletown and community partners are setting the example when it comes to acceptance, diversity, and inclusion of the LGBTQ community. And as things are getting back to normal, the town has started to raise funds for their upcoming 3rd annual Pride Parade.
This is our Middletown Pride pop-up shop. We have t-shirts, flags, stickers. Middletown Pride is showing that we are an inclusive city, and it's bringing people out.
As the Middletown pop-up shop enters its 4th week of fundraising for the 3rd annual Pride Parade, they hope to create a much-needed escape for the members of their community.
Yeah, these events definitely help show that everyone is different, everyone is included. We really like to make sure everyone feels heard.
With each week of fundraising, the Middletown pop-up shop, along with their community partners, hope to encourage all residents to embrace diversity. While there will be some in-person activities prior to registration, out of an abundance of caution, the 2021 Middletown Pride Parade will go virtual.
This year we're kind of mixing the two because we can be in person a little bit, but we don't want to draw a huge crowd.
So there's going to be a whole series of events, some virtual, some in person. The in-person ones will, of course, be accordance with the guidelines for social distancing and mask wearing.
Mayor Ben Florsheim says that the Pride Parade is considered a celebration of diversity, and it serves to create awareness about the struggles that the LGBTQ+ community faces due to discrimination.
The continuing discrimination, the continuing oppression that LGBTQIA residents in Connecticut and Middletown and all over the country are still facing, and the work that needs to continue to happen to make that, to change that.
How is Middletown setting the example to other communities, other towns around the state of Connecticut to embrace diversity?
The best way we can be an example is by showing that we can do great things together as a community.
The Middletown Pride will be hosting several important events throughout the month of June, beginning with the Main Street cleanup on June 5th. Other events include the Middletown Pride Showcase and the movie night at the Wadsworth Mansion. For more information on the upcoming events, visit the Middletown's Pride website.
For the Pulse, Marika Hawaringa.
Nice job, Mari. Let's hope that they have nice weather for this parade.
Thank you, Andrew. It was a fun event for a great cause, and I hope it inspires others to embrace diversity.
As the weather begins to heat up and we are released from cabin fever, Connecticut residents are eagerly looking for a reason to get outdoors. Lucky for them, there is a hidden gem right in their own backyard. Brittany Moore reports.
In the warmer months, Connecticut provides its residents with many fun outdoor attractions, such as beaches and biking trails, but one state park in particular has so much more to offer.
The great thing about Connecticut is that is the proximity to nature. We like to say at Deep that there's a state park within 15 minutes of every state resident.
West Rock Ridge State Park, which is located in parts of Hampden, New Haven, and Woodbridge, Connecticut, is one of the most prominent features the state has to offer. There are walking and biking trails, picnic areas, and even fishing areas. Sitting 627 feet above sea level, the park also provides spectacular views of the New Haven Harbor and Long Island South.
West Rock Ridge State Park is huge. It's it basically starts the southern point of it starts in New Haven and it stretches up the ridge line up through Hampden. And so it has spectacular views. I think like the highest point of West Rock is like 627 feet or something like that. And it is a really stunning view up there. There's great hiking around there. And those hiking trails, you can also, you can do some mountain biking up there. You can also do horseback riding on those trails. There are several lakes that are included in the park boundaries. One of them is a beautiful lake called Lake Wintergreen, and that offers, there's some great hiking. There's a great loop that you can do right around Lake Wintergreen. There are a few other lakes as well.
In addition to the trails and amazing views, West Rock Ridge State Park is also rich in history. One interesting feature is Judge's Cave, a rock monument that dates back to the 1600s.
In West Rock Ridge State Park, one of 110 state parks here in Connecticut. And all of our state parks are unique in different ways, and they have different, a lot of them have unique historical features, and Judge's Cave has a very interesting historical story. So basically, it's a little cave. It's kind of like a couple of large boulders, and it's like a little kind of crack between the boulders, and it's where these two judges who were 2 out of 59 judges that signed a petition that basically removed Charles I of England from his position as king.
Entrance to the state park and parking are both free, so Connecticut residents are welcome to spend their day soaking up the sun and taking in all the amenities the park has to offer. For more information, visit Connecticut's official state website. Reporting for The Pulse, Brittany Moore.
After the break, we will look into another spot you will definitely want to visit.
We close our show tonight with the journey of a Milford woman with an unabashed passion for pooches. You'll also see that her work with dogs even has a music connection. I sat down with her for the story. Meet Mary Beth Stark, owner of Bark Avenue Pet House in Milford. Over the course of her adult life, she's had multiple careers, including being an equestrian and a personal assistant to New York Jets owner Woody Johnson's wife, and she even looked after her dogs. Notice a theme?
I've always had dogs.
in one way or another, I worked with dogs as a vet tech years ago.
In 2009, she had enough of the personal assistant lifestyle and changed her career path. She pursued her dream of rescuing dogs and working with animals.
Because of my rescue work, I had to drop off a dog for another rescue up in Danbury, and I dropped it off at a dog daycare, one of the first in the state. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. I could open one of these and incorporate my rescue work so I can have rescues here as well. So we opened in 2012 after 2 years of difficulties with the city of Melford, but we've been open for 9 years now.
Her hard work paid off, and Bark Avenue has become a full-fledged pet center, offering daycare, boarding, and pet adoption/rescue services. However, in this era of COVID, she says she has shifted her focus to include more pet adoptions.
We went down from an average of 40 to 50 dogs boarding a night to a couple. And then, so I decided, well, there's a lot of empty kennels, I'll do a lot more adoptions. And I rescued quite a few pregnant dogs from the South, so they got adopted, but their puppies all got adopted. And since the pandemic, we've done 80 adoptions out of here.
Adopting animals does not come without challenges. She says that because dogs can get attached with their owners, especially in COVID times, the best thing that they can do is bring them to daycare.
Because when they do end up going back to work, if they don't get their, if they're with their dog all the time, the dog's going to be very, it's going to have a lot of separation anxiety.
Mary Beth has even had some celebrity clients stop by. If you don't know who this is, she'll gladly explain.
When Facebook first came out, Chris Frantz, the drummer for Talking Heads, who is married to the bass player of Talking Heads, was a Facebook friend. He has a beagle named Poppy, and Poppy traveled all over with them. So when I got 2 beagles out of a shelter in Ohio, from a shelter in Ohio, I contacted Chris and I said, would you like another beagle? And so he and Tina came down. My employees at the time were freaking out, saying Talking Heads are in the building. And so they adopted a dog for me. And I said, I wish they adopted me. That dog goes to their house in the south of France. That dog is pampered. And it was pretty cool.
Mary Beth's unique journey has allowed her to meet so many different people and animals. The feedback she gets about Bark Avenue proves that she is endeared by the community and an expert on how to properly take care of dogs. For The Pulse, I'm Andrew Kane, Fairfield, Connecticut. I must say, being around dogs all day and knowing rock and roll royalty, it doesn't get much better than that.
I definitely agree, Andrew. Well, that's all we have for you this week.
Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time on The Pulse.